It's always so weird to hear that little voice, isn't it? Um, the Torei Zenji vows very different from a lot of the other sutras that we hear. There's an intimacy, there's a different tone to it that that I really enjoy. And I thought I'd just say a little bit about Torei, who he was, and how that might relate to the sutra for you. He was. It follows very closely from Hakuin Zenji's Sangha Zazen, in that Torei Zenji was Hakuin's student, and they lived and practiced together for many many years. Tori got a very early start in the practice. He was 9 years old when he became a novice monk, and only 14 when he became a priest, as it were. And by the time he practiced away from Hakuin during this time, by the time he met Hakuin at age 22, he'd already spent about 3 years on pilgrimage and 2 years in solitary practice as a hermit. So, but when he came to, he was very well established as a priest at that point. But when he met Hakuin, he reports that he was just utterly unable to speak. He couldn't respond. He couldn't respond to the questions that Hakuin was asking. So he stayed there after his many years of wandering. He stayed there with Hakuin, and you hear about the questions that Hakuin was putting to him and how Hakuin supported and encouraged him. It was clear he was working through the koan curriculum that we have with us today. They lived and worked together for their entire lives. It was often said that there would be no Torei without Hakuin, but also that there would be no Hakuin without Torei. Hakuin, so Torei, while Hakuin had lived in this very dilapidated monastery with rain coming in through the roof and no place to put the monks, Torei ended up starting 3 different monasteries, and eventually Hakuin moved into Torei's monastery. So he had a very different. They worked together, and definitely Hakuin was the one who established the Dharma practice that Torei emulated, but Torei also helped establish Hakuin in allowing a monastery to build up around him. They were also very, very different people. Hakuin was outgoing and charismatic and known as a person of the people and so forth, while Torei tended to stay inside the monastery and was very humble and very quiet, which I think is really embodied in that first line of the sutra. I am only a simple disciple, but I offer these respectful words. It's a wonderful way to begin in offering respect, not only to the listener, but offering respect in a general sense. And I'm only a very humble disciple. There's a sense of things, of the tone which carries on throughout the sutra. There's something expressed here that plays out in terms of, when it's first read aloud by the Ino, it always gives me shivers, this sense of entering in to this place of respect and quiet tenderness. And that carries on, I won't go through each line, but, some of the lines just really stand out that express something like each particle of matter, each moment is no other than the Tathagata right here. And something very experiential that he uses in terms of his language, to reach out, and he's not, making a statement. He's not reaching out and grabbing us, but he's inviting us in to our own experience as well as his experience. And as about vows of Bodhisattva, which, Alexandra and I were talking about this, just how he says our virtuous ancestors gave tender care to beasts and birds. This is a great thing. But then he invites us in. Each of us in our own daily lives also experience this gratitude, for the protections of life. So do do you feel this too? Do you see how this experience of the compassion that a bodhisattva brings to the world is also your experience of receiving that compassion? Um, I'll just mention one phrase that we've stopped at before in various discussions has been around the lines that talk about how you know there will be people who offer us abuse, and I think it's very important to recognize that that he's there can be a way of seeing this. It's not giving power over to the abuser or to the aggressor, but this is about how do you take the power back for yourself to choose your own tone and to, instead of becoming like the aggressor, to have an open response to this. And in this way, becoming open and becoming and transforming that situation. But this is something for that we'll come to when we come to that. And it'll be interesting to hear what people have to say about this.